This week, I am giving you 12 different ways to find freelance web design clients, and some of them may just actually surprise you. Are you ready? Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Self-Made Web Designer podcast. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Have a seat, sit down, let's chat for a little bit. This week is all about how to find freelance web design clients. And if you've been doing this for any length of time, you know that this is an ongoing battle. You are constantly looking for the gig that is coming up. And so it's important to have a few pipelines, a few ways of finding different freelance web design clients. I've seen it happen before, and I want to keep you from it. And that is when a freelancer gets so used to finding clients or getting work from one specific avenue, and all of a sudden, that avenue dries up, and they're left going, what do I do? How do I build back up from everything that I just lost? So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you 12 different ways. Some of them have been ways that I have seen other people use, but a lot of them are ways that I have used personally. And so we're just going to dive in and we're going to go for it. But I want to take a second and ask, have you subscribed to the Self-Made Web Designer podcast? We have a lot of fun here. We're like a big family. And so I want to encourage you to do that. Subscribe on the platform that you are listening or watching this podcast, and leave me a comment, leave me a rating, and let me know what you think. It always helps other folks who are trying to find a podcast just like this. So take a second and do that. But without any further ado, are you ready? We're going to jump into 12 ways to find freelance web design clients. Okay, let's go. The first way to find freelance web design clients is not really a sexy one, but it's an important one. It's one that we all have to start with. And I'm talking about with people that you already know. And I tell this to a lot of freelance web designers, and the response a lot of time is, but Chris, I don't know anybody that might need a website or might need my services as a freelancer. And I always come back and say, you might want to think just a little bit harder. Suffice it to say, there's probably some people that are close to you or maybe connected to folks that you know that would need a freelancer to help them with things that they have going on. So here's what I did. When I was first getting started, I wrote a list of 100 different people that might need a website. And I started going down the list. Lo and behold, I didn't make it through my whole list before I was able to find plenty of work. And so give it a shot. Take a second, brainstorm. And it might be a little bit difficult at first to think of folks, but don't give up so easily. Think of folks that you know specifically, that you know you're connected to immediately, and then think of folks who might be connected to someone that you know, folks that have a business or a business idea or have been interested in starting a blog or something like that. Maybe they have an online Etsy shop that has been doing well, and they're looking to start their own platform to sell their products on their own website. This is how you get the ball rolling in your brain, get that squirrel running on the wheel until folks just kind of start coming to mind and it gets a little bit easier. This was actually how I got my first web design job. I started telling everybody, hey, if you know somebody or if you personally need a website, just let me know. I'm starting to learn and I'd love to help you out. And so a friend of mine at church actually connected me with another person that was telling them they desperately needed somebody to help them with their website. And that was the beginning of my freelance web design career. So look for people that you know, start talking to them, and just get the word out. Start telling everybody. Be that weird guy at the barbecue parties when we start having barbecue parties again, wherever you're at in the world, when it's safe to do so, who's just telling people about the business that they're starting. Don't do it in a way that is annoying. Don't do it in a pushy way, but just talk about what you're doing with your life. You're going to uncover a lot of folks who need help with their website. Number 2, UpWork. And we chatted a lot about this last week about how to make winning pitches or winning bids on UpWork for projects that clients are posting. If you haven't listened to that, go ahead, take a listen to it. It's a great one. But UpWork is an amazing platform. And if you're asking the question, yes, it is an awesome place to find high-paying web design clients. There are great clients on there who are looking for freelancers just like you. There are hundreds of jobs for web designers specifically that are created every single week. So there is a lot of opportunity for you on Upwork. If you're not familiar with the platform, the concept is really simple. You have a pool of freelancers who are looking to work in a specific area of skill, and you have a pool of clients who are looking to get jobs done. Upwork connects all those folks and makes some really happy freelancers in the process of it. So check Upwork out. Number 3, local SEO. And before you start getting a little afraid about this dirty word known as SEO, search engine optimization, just know it doesn't take a ton of work for you to start showing up locally on your search engines. And what do I mean locally? That means for folks who are in your geographical area. So in a 20-mile radius of where you are in your city, or outside the metroplex of where you live or where your business is. This is called local SEO. And so something that is really important to do is, number 1, have a website that addresses where you are at in the world. So it addresses the cities, the towns, and the surrounding areas that you might be servicing, that you might be trying to find clients in. So make sure that you are mentioning that in the copy, you're mentioning that in blog posts. And also you want to make sure that you set up a Google business account. And there are plenty of tutorials out there. It is not super difficult, but essentially what you want to do is set your website up, set your business up as a web design business with an address. And this is the important part of it. And I know some of you might be saying, but hey, I'm just a home office, or I just have my home address and I'm a little freaked out to put that up on to Google My Business or whatever. I don't want the world knowing where I live. And I understand that. I was a little bit worried about that as well. But I went ahead, I bit the bullet, and I just did it. And the truth is it's not really bit me in the butt. I've not gotten any weird, creepy folks coming into my house and knocking on my door. And I hope that never happens. But you know what? I'm just going to say it's probably pretty unlikely that it does. And so you might want to give it a shot. Or there are also other ways to do it without you having to leave your address. You could have a P.O. box that you have to pay for yearly. It's not super expensive. You can get a virtual mailbox. There are plenty of those out there online. If you do a little Google working, you could rent some space at a co-working office. And right now, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say they're probably a little cheap. And so you might have an opportunity to get a good deal, or you might just want to look into leasing some office space. You never know what you might be able to find, but it is super important if you're going to rank for local SEO. It is super important to have an address that is in the area of the location that you want people to find you and to hire you. So number 3, local SEO. Number 4, networking. And a lot of you might feel like this is a 4-letter word. And I get it. Networking can feel slimy. It can feel intimidating, especially if there's a little social anxiety going on. And listen, the world is just now opening back up and giving us some opportunities to do some networking. So more and more as time goes on, this is going to be more and more of an opportunity. So there's a few things that you can do to make networking not so painful. And the first one is to go to these events, not looking to get something from anybody, but to give something to someone. Look for opportunities to help people. Look for opportunities to support other businesses. Try to be a connector with other folks. So if you meet somebody that has a business and you know somebody else that needs that business, that's your opportunity to start connecting those people. And here's what happens when you approach networking in this way. It always comes back around to help you out with your business. People remember when you are helpful. People remember when you give them a lead for their own business, even if it's not connected to what you are doing. So first come to serve rather than be served. Another thing you want to do is to come with a game plan, to have a few things that you know you can bring up in conversation that will get the ball rolling with people. And the easiest way to do that is to ask people questions about themselves. People love to talk about themselves, and you know more about yourself than any other subject in the world. And so it's easy to answer questions about yourself. And so if you come with a few questions in your pocket about what do you do for work? What's your business? How long have you been in business? What types of things are you struggling with now? Have you come out of the pandemic okay? What are you looking forward to in this next season? All of those questions can be little tools for you to help get the ball rolling to make meaningful connections. And you want it to be meaningful. You don't want to just kind of ping pong around the room working it as if you have ulterior motives. When you are interacting with someone, be completely there with them and be completely interested. I have a lot to say about networking. We will cover it in future podcasts. For now, just know it's important to come to these network events as a person who is trying to give away value and someone who is really looking to make meaningful connections with other folks. You can find these networking events through your local Chamber of Commerce meetings or from platforms like meetups.com. Number 5, Craigslist. And listen, before you start laughing and saying things like, wait a second, Chris, you only go to Craigslist to find secondhand stuff for cheap. Listen, trust me, there is a lot of work to be found on Craigslist. In fact, I interviewed a guest on this very podcast who has an amazing podcast herself. Her name is Laurence Bradford of Learn to Code with Me, who got her start as a web developer from finding a job on Craigslist. So don't dismiss it until you start looking. There's 2 places to find jobs on Craigslist. The first place is under the Services tab. There is a link that says Creative. Another place is under the Jobs section. And that section, if you go all the way down to it, there's one that says Web/Info Design, and that is your bread and butter. And listen, this doesn't have to be a local thing. You can search in other cities for jobs that might pop up. It might be a good idea if you live in a small town to look at bigger cities like Los Angeles or Oregon or all the other places in the US or the world where someone might be posting a job that is perfect for you, because it doesn't have to be local. So get a little creative and continually check on Craigslist. Number 6, Toptal, Toptal. You might have heard of this one before, or you might not have. Toptal is like UpWork, but it's a little more difficult to get in as a freelance web designer or developer. You have to go through a process with them before you're able to look for projects on their platform. But once you make it in, it can be a great source for some really good leads. My suggestion would be to come here after you've got some projects under your belt, because they tout that they are looking for the top 3% of web designers and web developers. And so if you don't have a heavy portfolio, it's going to be difficult to make it past their application process. Number 7, another way to find web design clients is through content marketing. And what is content marketing? really quickly, content marketing is making content around things that clients who are looking for you are trying to answer questions about. So, there's a few things you need to know when you're doing content marketing. You need to know who your ideal customer is. You need to understand a little bit of SEO, and then you need to have some time to actually make this content. It could be things like a blog post. It could be things like a YouTube video. It could be things like a podcast. But when it comes to content marketing, you don't want to cast a really wide net. This is where you've got to niche down to know exactly what type of client you are going after, what type of industry that they are in, and what types of problems they are trying to solve with their website. And this is where you become a little bit of the guru in this area. If you stick with it long enough, people will start finding you organically on Google SEO. They will start finding you whatever area that they are searching in, whether it's podcast or YouTube channels. You're going to start rising to the top if you stick with it long enough and your content is good enough. So let's say you want to focus on building sites for people who are doing pet sitting, right? So you've got to know exactly who your client is and the problems that they are trying to solve. So you might write an article that talks about 5 ways to optimize your pet sitting website, or what to do to keep your client's hamster entertained. I don't know, something that involves what it is that you are trying to focus on and the client that you're trying to go after it. Also, if you ever write that last article about how to keep your client's hamster entertained, please let me know. I'd love to read it, because you are a hero in my eyes. Number 8, another way to find web design clients is through other web designers. When I first got started, I would find other freelance web design projects from friends of mine who were also web designers. If you connect with another web designer who has been at it for a while, suffice it to say, they are probably turning down business. And when that happens, if you connect with them, if you make a good impression, if you become a friend or an ally or an asset to them, they are going to want to hand those folks off to you. And you can make it worth their while by giving them a percentage of the project that you win from their referral. And honestly, this is something that web designers are happy to do because it's not easy, especially when you're first getting going. I love being able to actually make a connection for a potential client to somebody that I know is a good web designer, somebody that I know I can trust them with a project. So find other web designers who are looking to offload some of their work. Number 9, LinkedIn. LinkedIn can be a great resource for web design clients, but you've got to approach this carefully because LinkedIn is also a space for a lot of spam. And this is something I don't understand because I myself get spammed by other web designers trying to pitch me web design services. And I'm like, guys, I do this for a living. I don't need your help. I'm good. But for some reason, they keep coming at me. So you've got to be very delicate with how you connect with folks. You don't want to come off, make a connection, and then just send them a list of things that you can do with all the prices that you charge and how amazing it would be to work with you. No, you develop a relationship just like you would a normal person. Think about this like a dating relationship. When you go on your first date, you don't want to propose to the person. That will freak them out. And if it doesn't freak them out, trust me, you don't want to be married to them, okay? So take it easy. Guide them into the relationship by commenting on some of their posts. Be actually interested in what they are doing in life, what they're doing with their business. And eventually an opportunity will present itself to either give them feedback on their website or give them feedback on whatever it is that you're doing as a freelancer and how it relates to them, or to offer them something that is helpful, that might be useful to them. And when that happens, you've already built the relationship. You've already been pinging them. You've been showing up in their feed. And so it's going to be a lot more natural for them to hire you after that point. Another thing that you can do is meet up on LinkedIn with folks who have different freelancing skills that are in tandem to yours. So, for instance, copywriters are often looking for other web designers to connect with. And so, if you strike up a relationship with a copywriter who is finding a lot of clients that have copyright work, but they don't know anybody that can help them when a client says, "Hey, do you know somebody who does web design?" Well, that might be a chance for you if you're building those relationships on LinkedIn to find some new freelance web design clients. So, number 9, check out LinkedIn. Number 10, social media. And social media is kind of a given. There's a lot of folks competing for projects on social media. So there's the heavy hitters, right? There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's all sorts of new things coming up, everything from Clubhouse and TikTok. My suggestion for you would be to pick one and to focus on it, especially when you're just getting started. Because here's the deal. If you try to post on all of these platforms, you're going to be doing yourself a disservice because you're only going to be putting a little bit of stuff. It's not going to get you noticed on these platforms. So pick one and go at it really heavy for a short season of time until you start finding ways to find clients on these platforms. Okay, so the next question would be, how do I know which one to pick? All right, well, this is where it comes back to knowing who your ideal client is. You've got to figure out where they are, and then you've got to go to them. I'm willing to guess that probably there's a lot of clients all over the place. And so you're going to have to even go further and not just say which platform, but where on these platforms are my clients? Are they in specific Facebook groups? Are they chatting around certain hashtags? I have a friend who's a photographer that follows specific hashtags, and this is how he gets all of his clients. So when somebody posts and leaves hashtags regarding his area, so his geographical location, and somebody just recently getting engaged, those posts pop up in his feed. Then he has a list of pre-written responses that he comments on these people's posts. So he's not even spending a ton of time just typing away all of these amazing content trying to get clients. He's got some shortcuts on his iPhone. He types in those shortcuts, bam, he hits comment, and now he's made a connection with a potential client who's going to hire them for their wedding or for some photography service. And he is really good at it. And if he can do it, suffice it to say, it is possible for web designers as well. So follow hashtags that your ideal clients are using on their posts, and then interact with them, comment on their posts, follow them, like their comments, try to strike up interesting conversations and be helpful when they ask questions about their business if you are able to give them insight. So number 10, social media. Number 11, online job boards. And this might come as a surprise to you, but online job boards like Indeed or ZipRecruiter don't just post jobs for full-time positions. There's actually a lot of freelance work that goes up on these platforms. You've just got to be dialed in and know how to look for it. So what you can do, start up an account on these platforms and create a notification system to ping you whenever a job is posted that is in line with what you are looking for. But don't discount them just because you think that's only where people post things for full-time positions. Number 12, and finally, a place to find freelance web design clients is from something I like to call portfolio platforms. And you're probably familiar with these. These are platforms where you're able to put some of your work, some of your portfolio on in a social media-like manner. So we're talking about platforms like Dribbble and platforms like Behance. I have actually not done a great job with putting a lot of my work on these platforms. But despite that, I have gotten work from the little stuff that I have put on them. So Behance is from Adobe, and it is an incredible platform, not only to post your stuff, but to find some inspiration as well. It's a pretty competitive space, and people do a lot of work to make their portfolio look good. And there's a lot of cool tools that you can use in Behance, from animations to different layouts to different other types of tools in your tool belt that make your portfolio look smoking hot. But it takes a little bit more work on there than it would on Dribbble. Dribbble is a much more simplistic portfolio platform. You can only put up images that are 400 by 300 pixels. And of course, you can attach other pictures that are the full website or a full landing page. But the main thing that everyone sees is that little 400 by 300 clip on the board. And so it's a lot more simple to put your stuff up there, but you've got to be a little bit more creative about how to catch folks' eye on that platform. And another thing is once you've posted 3 portfolio pieces, you actually have to have an invitation to post more. And it's not super difficult to get an invitation. There are folks on the platform who are always looking to give their invitations away. You've just got to be diligent to connect with people and ask for it if somebody is willingly giving it away. But that's another great place for you to find web design clients as a freelancer. Okay, that's it. That's the 12 different ways for you to find freelance web design clients. And you might be thinking, Chris, this is too much. I can't possibly go onto all these platforms all the time and be looking for work. And I get that. And honestly, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be trying to figure out how to find clients on all of these platforms. My encouragement to you is to pick 1 or 2 of these platforms. Learn them, learn how to interact with clients, learn all the skills, all the strategy that it takes to actually find projects and make meaningful connections with future clients, and then try other ones out as you master those. And you might find that some of these ways fit your personality, they fit your skill set, they fit how you do freelancing a little bit better than others. So don't get discouraged if you try one way and it's not working out. You have so many to pick from. But at the same time, don't give up so easily. Don't pitch a couple of projects and say, that's it, nobody can find clients on LinkedIn, or that's it, nobody can find clients on UpWork. I don't care what Chris says, it's not possible. Give it a little bit more time. Work with it a little bit more. Try some different ways of pitching to people and take some feedback. Look at what you're doing and what is working for other folks, and then try to adjust your approach. But after a few months, 3 or 4, if it's not working, there's another place that you can look for freelance web design clients that I bet will work for you a little bit better than that one. All right, well, I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you never run into any issues finding as many freelance clients as your heart so desires, or you are able to actually work with. We've got another amazing episode coming up next week that I'm super excited for you to hear. Before we go, if you ever want to talk, if you ever want to just bounce ideas off of somebody pertaining to your freelance web design business, I would be happy to talk with you. There is a place, if you scroll down to the bottom of my homepage, where you can set up a time to chat with me. I am not selling anything. I'm not trying to rope you in to any type of program. I am just here to try and help you. So feel free to set a time to chat with me, and I'd love to meet you. Other than that, I hope you have a great week coming up. I hope that you find some freelance web design clients from the suggestions that I've made here. Keep going, don't give up, and don't forget, if you don't quit, you win.